So you're also Fujian, right? Are you part Chinese?
Yes.
Okay, so there is Chinese Game of Thrones going on, monetary wise.
Oh yeah. We're not traditional, and my side of the family, there's no money, so there's nothing
okay.
to fight over.
Not even like Binondo rich.
Yeah, no, definitely not. That's really rich if you're Binondo rich, right?
Well, it's just I think people from Binondo are a little bit more humble. They're less flashy, right? I guess.
Okay.
Compared to like Makati or Green Hills Chinese folks.
Unfortunately, not my end of the family. We were really poor, like literally poor. So no.
But don't you think that's so much more soulful when you rise and do something and earn something?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yes and no. I think it's really teach their own. You don't have to be poor to have value, to rise, and you can still. I don't think it's about rising or anything like that. I think it's more about just character. Like, if you're a nice person, you're a nice person.
Sure. I have this theory. Okay. You know how there's this implosion and explosion of millennials being complained about Generation X.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen it first here in the Philippines because there's so many spoiled kids out here. And a lot of the millennialisms, a lot of it is just based out of just privilege. Don't you think there's a lot of people? Well, I'm way older than you. I'm 41. So with my generation, I knew a lot of people that were rich and that acted bratty. But don't you think that's something that's just based out of privilege, not just digital upbringing? Or would you like me to further expand?
Yes, rephrase the question.
Sure.
What do you mean?
Sure. Well, I'll give you the BBC long-winded question.
Okay.
Are millennials just spoiled because of the digital era, or are millennials spoiled because they're privileged?
See, I feel that's an unfair question. I don't think grouping every person just based on their age or what generation they're in is fair. Because talk to the generation before us, they would say that every generation says the same shit. Like, I can't believe Generation X does this. They're so blah 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 blah. They're so this. Every generation complains about something. It was the same thing at my school. Like, same thing with schools. The seniors would always complain about the juniors doing something. The juniors would complain that the freshmen this year are different. They're just weirder. They're whatever. It's the same thing.
Over 1 year difference.
Exactly. It's the same shit every time. So I don't think it's fair. I think, yes, there are some. Every generation, there were things that became easier, and the older generation just complains about it. Oh, it's easier for you. Back in my day, we didn't have TVs, so now you get to just sit around and watch TV. Like the older generation, they didn't have telephones, so they complained that your generation's so lazy, you don't even write letters anymore and send them through a pigeon because you have telephones.
Right.
So I feel like it's just people complaining. I don't think the generation is, in a way, privileged or. It's just that's what they have. But I think a person's character is very different. It's just because they have the internet, not every millennial you meet is a millionaire. They have the internet.
Sure.
So so it's unfair to say that every millennial's lazy. Every millennial's I think every generation has their share of. We'll probably have an somewhat equal percentage of people who were successful, who were mildly successful, who are not successful, who are horribly unsuccessful.
Sure.
So I don't think it's just the generation. I really think it's just really the drive. I think that's what
that separates
a person.
Because I sometimes feel that with Instagram, they're better off. Hey, I have 80 likes. I have more likes than you. So I'm stuck in this digital world. So I'm either just in front of a computer. I'm not fruitionally experiencing life, that it changes the personality. But it seems like, according to your observation, it becomes actually just a character issue.
Yeah. I don't have the science behind that, but I don't. I do know people complain like, it's different connecting online, chatting with someone versus connecting with them in person. Yeah, it's different, but they're. I feel like there's pros and cons to everything. I do feel like with some people, it would be better to connect with them personally, but I do feel like now I'm able to connect with a lot more people as well. And I wouldn't say just because it's spread out that it's not quality. I might be able to reach out to more people now with quality time no matter where they are in the world, and we're able to better keep in touch. So I don't think it's a digital thing.
So when you manage your interns and people you employ, who are, from what I've seen on the website, are way younger
Yes,
than my age group,
young, yes.
right? They're in their 20s.
Yes, most.
You don't have that big an issue of like having to watch them or micromanage them.
Yes. The people yes and no. So
Okay.
there you go. Just like everything. There are people who are hard to manage, who aren't as just like with any job. There will be people who do well at that job. There are people who just don't fit in, and there are people who are just plain lazy.
Right.
So for the most part, speaking of people we hire, I feel like we already began. Did we?
We began the moment you sat down, brother, and that's how we do it, man.
That's great. For the people we hire, I guess the benefit is for us, most of the people we hire, we only hire from our pool of contributors. Contributors meaning the people who contributed something for free. Because that's how it starts out with when in Manila with us is usually you'll just contribute. It has its own perks. If you contribute, you share a story. Perks are anywhere from the first perk is really just getting your story out there. We have a lot of writers who love writing, but if you start your own blog, let's just say you spend 2 hours going to a restaurant with the traffic here, it's horrible. 2 hours going home, so that's 4 hours already.
Sure.
You spend 3 hours at the restaurant, you paid for your meal, you spent time taking photos, your family was complaining because they wanted to eat, but you were taking these photos, so you had to put up with that crap. You go home, you edit the photos, you do this write-up, you spend 3-4 hours on all that. You post this amazing article that you edited that you're proud of, and then you get 2 likes. Sorry about that.
Sure.
You get 2 likes. So it's kind of discouraging. So what people like when they contribute to us, they share these amazing stories, and now their story gets heard, gets out there a lot more.
And you're affiliated with a brand.
Yes,
not
exactly.
just you.
So that's one of the other perks. Now, as far as the brand, they're able to put it on their resume because a lot of the people contribute. They're college students, some are high school kids, or in between jobs, or interns or whatnot. So they get to add it to their portfolio or to their resume. So it helps build their own personal brand. The other things they get, we don't like to push it because we don't want people just doing it for this. But you get a lot of freebies. I mean, you get to eat at a restaurant for free. You get to
events.
You get to go
galore.
Yes, you get to go to free events. So free New Year's parties, free concerts, your favorite stars, whatnot.
And network.
Yes, and then you get to meet lots of people. Yes, so so there's perks to it. So now from these contributors, usually the ones who are really active, who are really fun to work with and whatnot, who are doing it for free because they're passionate about it, that's where we hire from for the most part.
Sure.
So I guess in a way, I'm a little spoiled in hiring because we get to already pick from people willing to work for free for a bit.
Right. And that's really, to get into the belly of the beast or that entertainment pie, that's what you're going to have to do for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You do have to work for free for a bit.
You just have to remind people like, yo, I went through the same goddamn shit you went through, bro. Like not too many years ago, too.
Yep.
So, I wanted for the listening audience to explore. You added me on LinkedIn.
Yes.
That was thank you so much. But that was the way I did my research.
Yes.
So you were doing IT for the Navy.
Yes.
And then you were working in human resources.
I did a lot.
Which is far-fetched, far from the entertainment.
Oh, yeah.
Was it something gradual, or was it like a moment that snapped you to go, I'm going to go this entertainment route?
Fuck I don't even consider myself in the entertainment route. But for your question, no, I don't. I wasn't expecting any of these, nor was I planning anything out. You sort of just go with the flow. My first job, not on LinkedIn, was at Burger King.
Sure.
First job ever.
Of course, that's the first we removed from our brains, right?
Yes. When I left Burger King, I was working at Mervin's. It's a...
All in San Diego,
yes,
right?
In San Diego.
For the listeners in the U.S.
Yes, it's a Macy's. It's an SM for the listeners in the Philippines.
Sure.
It's a Macy's in California, Mervin's. I was doing so well. I was a 17-year-old, and I was doing so well as far as sales because I guess I'm a good salesperson, or I'm a good talker.
Gabber.
Yes. So a lot of people, they judge you. So one of the big ways they evaluate employees is how many people you get to signing up for credit cards. for the Mervyn's card, for a Macy's card. Because when you have a credit card, you spend more at that store. So if you sign up more people, they love you. I was signing up so many people, like hundreds in a month. And they wanted to promote me, a 17-year-old. They wanted to make me a manager of the store. And it was then that was like, oh, fuck no, I don't want to be a manager at the mall.
Right.
That's sort of when I realized, like, I don't want to do this. And at the same time, my friends who used to work at Burger King were inviting me to join the military. I don't know why. I don't remember, or I never asked why they decided to join the military. But they were like, hey, Vince, these are my good friends from Burger King. Like, Vince, we're joining the military. I'm like, fuck, you're going to fucking die. You're stupid. Why?
Right.
Of course, I didn't understand what the military really was. I just knew that, they had guns and stuff and you die. You could
Facade,
die.
right?
Yeah.
That we see.
And so I was like, no, that's stupid. So I just started working at Mervyn's. And then when I got that promotion, that's why I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I don't want to be a manager at the mall. So I had nothing else going. I dropped out of high school. I dropped out of college as well. I dropped out of high school, took my GED. Locally in the Philippines, they call it the DEX, but in the States, it's the GED. I dropped out. I tried to go back to a community college. I went to Pasadena City College for 2 days. I dropped
we're
out.
alumni.
Oh, really?
I went to PCC.
Well, I dropped out after 2 days. So you're alumni.
Okay.
But I didn't appreciate education then. So I dropped out and quit at Mervyn's. I'm like, what else I got going? So I'm like, hey, let me talk to a recruiter. Since I went with my friends to talk to a Navy recruiter. And the recruiters, they just suck you in. Those are salespeople.
You got Macy.
Yes.
You got Vince Golanco by someone in the military.
Anything you want to hear. I remember. So I'm the 17-year-old kid, 17, 18 back then. Navy recruiter's like, yeah, you see that car outside? Navy gave it to me. You see this laptop? Navy. Every port we go, pussy. Where do I sign?
Right. That's exactly what you had to tell a 17-year-old.
That was
pussy. Forget the car and the money.
Like every port we go, beer and pussy. I'm like, where do I sign? He's like, yeah, I've had Japanese pussy. I did American. I'm like, oh my God, where do I sign? Of course, not true.
Sure.
But so that got me to sign. For me, it was the IT thing. Actually, it was the recruiter saying that's the easiest job. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the IT thing. And it was, even when I got in, comparing it to the other jobs where all the jobs were like heavy lifting and things like that. A lot of elbow grease. This was sort of the guy who they taught how to use computers, and you knew computers. So you're sort of in a way more white collar-ish job.
Sure.
And it was stuff you could use when you get out. At least I thought. So that's why I did IT. Navy wasn't for me. It turned out after 4 years the minimum. I'm very creative. So in the military, it's like a corporate structure times 100 as far as how strict it is. As simple as it's dark in here. If it were dark, I would turn on the light. In the military, if it's dark, you have to write a request and send it up the chain of command. And after 4 weeks, they will get back to you. Yeah, okay, you can turn on the light. I'm exaggerating, but for a lot of things, it was like that. And for me, it was like...
Metaphorically like that.
Yes, it was metaphorically like that. But for me, it was like, no, it's dark. I'll turn on the light. So I was very creative that way. I wanted to create my own solutions. I guess entrepreneurial in a way. But they don't want entrepreneurs in the military. They want you to follow orders. So I got out after 4 years. Fortunately, part of the military, and one reason I joined was they have the GI Bill, so they'll pay for college. So that's when I was stationed in San Diego, fell in love with San Diego. So I stayed in San Diego. I went to community college first, San Diego Mesa, then transferred to San Diego State. At San Diego State, I found out I loved writing because I actually took the communication major just because they again said it was the easiest. I actually took business first, but I hate math. I'm an Asian who hates math. I swear. That's why I don't follow the stereotypes.
Hey, you're preaching to another priest, bro.
Yeah. So I did business first, but the accounting classes and the business finance, all that, I was like, oh God, I suck so bad. I hated it with a passion. So I talked to the school counselor, what else can I do? And eventually landed with communication. I didn't know I was good at communicating. I guess now I do, but I didn't know I was good at it. But to me, I just thought it was easy. It turns out I'm good at communicating. But so I took communication. With that came some journalism and some writing classes. And that's where I sort of found out I loved writing. I also eventually started writing for my school newspaper, the San Diego Aztec, and really, really loved that. So back then, blogs were were blowing up. So that's when I also started a personal blog. I had a bunch of old blogs. I was super motivated then. I had a 365 days of motivation.wordpress.com where I'd write a motivational quote every day and comment on it. I had my own Golanco.com, things like that. So I just started blogging. When I graduated, I was going through a quarter life crisis. I didn't know what to do. It was the depression just hit the U.S. economy back then, 2009, 2010. So that's when I sort of just
when Obama had to do the cleanup for Bush.
Yeah,
This is
that's
the
a whole
credit
different thing. We're not getting into politics,
Right.
which Trump is just going to erase now. But anyway,
Right. Totally. That's another show.
whole different show. Yeah. But anyway, so I was going through sort of like a quarter life crisis. Didn't know what to do with my life. Funny thing was, I graduated. I was so proud. I graduated with 0 student loans, 0 debt. But then when I went through my quarter life crisis, I'm like, fuck this. I'm just going to max out my credit card and travel the world and figure out life, which it turned out well. So I maxed out my credit cards. Like, oh my God. I think I reached $20,000 in debt just traveling. I started buying tickets to all these countries, not knowing how I'm going to pay it back or not having a job or whatever. It's just like, whatever.
Is that something sociological because you've been so disciplined and after a particular point you have to let off that steam from being so
bit. I
disciplined?
Think so. I think in part it was, like I said, I was going through a quarter life crisis, so maybe I reached my tipping point then.
Right.
Where it's like I don't know what to do
That's
with
what
my
I'm
life.
referring to, the quarter life and the spree, the life spree.
Maybe it's because I didn't know what else to do. So I'm just like, I haven't done this. I haven't splurged on my credit card ever. I've traveled a lot, but I guess this was a bit more soul-searching travel. I've traveled for work because of the Navy, but I guess this was more soul-searching type personal travel. So I guess it's like, hey, what the hell? So yeah, I just started traveling. My last stop was the Philippines. So I went to New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong, etc. Last stop was the Philippines because I'm part Filipino, and I was born in Texas. Never grew up there, so never got the accent or the politics, but
Or the boots.
yeah, or the boots, or the hat. Born in Texas, El Paso, but when I was right after I was born, moved to the Philippines. So I learned Tagalog here. I grew up here when I was younger, till a teenager. So my last stop was the Philippines. I still had family here then.
Intentionally, the last stop.
Yes, intentionally, and I was going to stay
Okay.
here for 6 months, just figure out life.
Sure.
And that's where I started writing the blog with some friends. Sort of just me sharing, and I was so close with my college friends. I was in a business fraternity, so we were very tight. We were always keeping up back then. Now, unfortunately, not so much. But it was my way of keeping in touch with them as well. It was like, hey, when in Manila, here are the things to do. When in Rome, does the Romans do? When
Sure.
in Manila, here are the things to do. So it was sort of just me keeping in touch with them as well, instead of having to write an email to each one. And just things sort of just took off from there. So
Right.
it's almost like, sorry, it's a long answer to your question, but it's sort of.
You're giving. I appreciate that as an interviewer.
So I guess your question was, did I plan that out? Each one was the IT with the military, with the human resources, yes and no, it wasn't planned. Everything was a step. The human resources, by the way, that was just sort of. While I was in college, they offer military people like these paid. They were almost like internship positions, but they weren't. But they were like paid well, tax free from the government for vets who are going to school. So there was an open position near my house at the HR at the Veteran Affairs Hospital. So I just took that. So it really wasn't anything. So I think what people need to realize who are lost is that they don't need to make a final decision today. Like if today you want to do this radio podcast thing, this podcast thing,
Sure.
but all of a sudden tomorrow you're like, you know what, for whatever reason I don't want to do that anymore.
Dunzo.
Yeah, you don't. There's nothing holding you back. You don't have to think. You don't have to make. They're not life decisions. Even with your college course, it turns out that's not a life decision. It isn't because there's a statistic out that a bigger percentage of people end up in jobs not related to their courses, to their majors in college. So these are all just sort of stepping stones.
Now you've networked with quite a bit of people. Can you sense, like, if someone's like, "Oh, this is a go-getter," well, albeit an intern or someone you have dinner with, someone you socialize with, can you detect that if this person has that? Oh, he's gonna go A to B.
Yes and
nonstop.
no. Yes and no, because sometimes I'm naive and I give people multiple chances.
In other words,
So-
you're open minded when you meet.
Yeah,
See, I
so-
judge fucking people, man.
I try to. I'm too nice at times. I think so. I've given people 2, 3, 4 chances, and they still every time it's like, damn it, I knew it from the start. Like I knew you were going to be a problem, but I still gave you a chance. And but in fairness, there have been people who proved me wrong, which is why I still give chances, because there have been people who like I don't think they'll be good, and they're like, oh my god, wow, they're good. But anyway, so judging people, I think in a way I do. I think really it's just people who can make it work, who you give them a
Sure.
task. They might not have all the perfect resources, but they find a way to make it work. I think those are the go-getters. And that's all life really is, because everything you want is technically somewhere there, but you just have to find it.
Because even when I used to manage interns myself, maybe it's a cultural thing, because the Filipino facade is I listen, I say yes. Even though after you say yes, either you're going to fuck off and not do shit, or you're really going to be about what you say.
Yeah.
But maybe in LA or even in New York, when I see interns, it's like, they'll be like, nah, I ain't going to do that.
Yeah, so that's where the drive comes in. Well, because for some interns, they're doing it as a school requirement. They needed to graduate. They just want to graduate.
So
because,
these fuckheads in the U.S., bro.
well, I think that's unfair as well to say just because they're from the U.S. But I think it's really the person. So
I really feel like I'm judgmental after 10 minutes talking to you.
maybe.
My God, I'm the most harsh, angry Asian in the world right now.
Maybe.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe that should be your brand, the Angry Asian. Maybe that'll be
There's
funnier.
way too many angry Asian brands already, so that's the problem.
Are there Angry Asians?
So many, man.
Maybe haven't been hanging around them. I don't know.
Right, you're a happy dude, and you're.
I try to be. I guess I am. But yeah, I think it's really the person. Some people are just. In fact, no, I was a lazy fucker for a while, and like I said, I dropped out of high school.
People were.
Yeah, exactly. I dropped out of high school. Didn't do college for a bit. It wasn't until later when I realized the value. I think it was really just in a way I got lucky with the people I met, and I eventually met some mentors who, for whatever reason, found something in me or a niceness to me, and even one of the girls I've dated I found that who taught me how you shouldn't settle, where it's like, so that sort of eventually became my thing, whereas I didn't want to be normal, because normal people live normal lives, which is okay, and if that's what you want to do,
That's your bliss, right?
yeah. But I guess growing up, I always related myself watching cartoons or movies, or I always saw myself as the lead character, as the hero, as the guy. And slowly, as growing up, I realized, you're not going to be the lead character. You're not going to be the hero if you're just going to settle for mediocrity, if you're just going to be normal. So I guess eventually, in my 20s is when I sort of found my drive to where it was like, you know what, hey, I'm never going to, I don't want to settle.
But how did that affect your parents? Like, hey, mom, I'm just going to do the GEDs, and I'm going to bust out, and I'm going to go join the army. Like, to them, they want someone to go.
No, my parents is a different story. My parents are actually, they have 6 kids. I'm the first. They had me when they were 18. They're both college dropouts. So
They got it. They understood.
I don't know if they understood, but they were
Exhausted.
exhausted with me. They didn't know what to do with me. And I didn't know what to do with me. But I think it was back then I just didn't know how to channel my drive. I guess I had some sort of a drive, but I didn't know how to channel it, because at school, especially in the Philippines when I was younger, in schools here, at least the ones I went to, they just had you memorize stuff. It
wasn't learning.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was memorizing. At least the school I went to. So it was a lot of memorization, and that wasn't for me. So I guess, and what I eventually read about, I don't know if you've ever read about the 7 intelligences. I heard it's more now, but it's the 7 intelligences where there's a story about there's a teacher, and it has all these animals as students. There's a fish, there's a monkey, there's a giraffe, there's a elephant, there's etc. All these animals.
Sure.
And it says the teacher says the smartest one is the one, and the best student is the one who can climb up that tree and get the banana. So that's sort of how schools are nowadays, where you have these people with all different skills. Imagine the fish, who's amazing at swimming, can dive underwater, can do all these things, but it's being judged on climbing up a tree and getting a banana. So just imagine the swimmers out there, the Michael Phelps and all those people who they have this amazing skill, but the schools are sort of just mold you to fit in. In fact, if you stand out at schools, you're sort of the weird guy out.
Sure.
And you get made fun of. So
It's
that's
not their math.
Exactly.
Therefore, you're not normal.
Exactly.
That's not our way to 10.
Exactly. Which is why, in a way, schools. Although the hard part is, how do you fix that? It's kind of hard to fix. How are you going to train 2 million students individually? So there's no quick solution. Maybe it's more in just how they're raised at home or something. But yeah, so I felt like schools were doing that, were just sort of molding me, and I was too much of a rebel back then. My parents were too young. They didn't know how to bring up a kid. They didn't know how to bring themselves up. They were college dropouts, and it's a different story. My parents were my mom's really, really nice, super submissive. Anything you tell her, she'll just do it. And my dad was sort of a spoiled kid. It's a whole different story again. But
We
my
have the same parents, I think. My dad was hammer fisted.
yes, my dad was, and he was a spoiled kid, and they were like supposedly our family, like before my dad and my grandpa, were super, super rich. Like the story was,
Of course, you guys get hit with the not rich part.
I know, right? Why?
Right.
So my grandpa had a gambling problem. And he gambled away all our millions. And then my dad, when he grew up until he was 18, like he had me when he was 18, they were still rich then. And he was just super spoiled. Like, a 15-year-old with a car, with a high-end car and all that. But supposedly before my grandpa, my family, our last name, supposedly controlled the lumber in Manila. That's how rich. And I remember when I was very young, we had a mansion. And our mansion was next to our giant factory that had a port to the Pasig River, where these giant boats, or whatever they're called, would come in and drop off these giant lumber thingies. And so they were just that rich. But as I grew, they eventually sold it. The money was just running out. Supposedly I don't know which great-great-great-grandfather built it, but supposedly the kids weren't as good, and just so slowly the business started not doing well.
Wow.
Especially on my end, when my grandfather apparently was a gambler and gambled it all away. Then my dad was spoiled, so he didn't do nothing.
Did any of that seep into you? Are you a gambler?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, I hate gambling.
So you went the opposite way.
I'm scared of gambling. Well, but I didn't even know my grandfather was a gambler till like later. So gambling I guess I already grew up poor, so I never wanted to gamble because I had nothing to gamble. I was so afraid of gambling.
Do you think growing up poor made you a better risk taker? By observing the world, right? You probably have a myriad of friends, both socially affluent to poor. But being impoverished, or not even impoverished, maybe a few steps above that, meaning just like struggling.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Does that make it easier for them to take a gamble?
I don't know. I think for me, I don't think there were much gamble. Yes, and see,
not as in gambling at the casino,
yes,
but I'm talking about life, right? And career choices.
Yes, I guess for career choices, it was more because I don't consider what I did gambles, but in a way, I guess yes, where I have nothing else to lose, so might as well. I have nothing else I'm doing, so might as well join the military. I'm not doing anything else, might as well travel. So I guess in that part, yes, but being poor, not having things to gamble, made me not want to gamble in a financial sense, I guess. So yeah, I guess life-wise, yes, you have nothing else to lose. So.
On the way here, me and Alan were actually talking in the car. When you like start a business and have like an infinite versus finite, meaning it ends, as far as for starting a business, it's better off that way. That way you just stick to the goal. But when you have a budget and when the budget's teetering, that's when you start making dumb decisions sometimes. So with research, a lot of people know that when you came here, you know what? You said, fuck it, I'm going to give it a try. I think a lot of the fellas would like to hear, was there like a dating difference or adjustment you had to go through from living in the U.S. and then dating?
We're talking about dating.
Dating, yeah. Because that's just a big cultural... Like, I'm aggressive with girls, and they look at me like I have shit in my face. So you can't do that here.
Well, I guess, unfortunately, and comedians joke about this. Local stand-up comedian, really funny, Tim Tayag, if you ever get to hear him.
Okay, I'll look him up.
But he jokes that and jokes are half meant, and this one really is. In the Philippines, you're judged not. Yes, you are judged by your color, but here you're also judged by how well you speak English. So I guess I sort of saw that, of course, and sort of, I guess, in a way, tried to take advantage of that. Where
Sure.
I just happen to speak English well because I grew up in the States and all that. So I guess a little bit dating wise, I guess when you start speaking English a little bit, I didn't do it on purpose, but when you start speaking English a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, where are you from? You're from the States," and they automatically think you're rich because you get to travel. Because unfortunately, especially when things were really tough here in the Philippines, you don't really get to travel, and I experienced that. I didn't get to travel when I was young, other than when I was born. So yeah, I guess they automatically think that you're richer. So I guess they give you a little bit more time.
So it was a good, easy transition for you, is what you're saying.
I guess, but I guess I wasn't a super. I guess I'm not aggressive with that. So for me, it was sort of like, I guess more. It was an easy transition. I guess if I had to think about it now, I guess because I spoke English, it gave me a little edge. As compared to if you're in the States, speaking English doesn't mean shit.
Right. It's like, what else?
Yeah. So
what else?
So, but here, because you spoke English, it was already like an extra cookie. You already had like that extra, as they call here, pogi points.
So I need sociological advice here.
Okay.
Let's say you're a chick at a club.
Okay.
And this is for like people who travel to the Philippines to understand
Don't grab my pussy.
But not Trumpish that way. Okay. But like I like going up to girls and telling them they're pretty, or if they have a nice body, I'd like to talk to you. Like if I literally go up to a girl and say, "You're very pretty, can I talk to you for a second?" A lot of girls are taken aback by that.
Yeah, I think I think that's too aggressive for the locals here because they're
like
a bit
rapey.
shy.
It's like rapey, or I might as well breathe heavy.
Maybe not
drool.
quite, but sort of. I guess you're headed that level. I guess they're a bit. I think there's two things to that. One is the culture. Yeah, that's a bit aggressive for them. So they might, even though they do want to talk to you, you're like, oh my God, why they're not used to that. But two, I think on a more pickup artist level, I think you're not supposed to do that. One, because the girls that are pretty, they get told they're pretty way too much already. So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I've heard that 10 times today. So what? Why? You're just
see in LA and New York, it's different. It's like even though they know they're pretty, they've been told, they're like, "Oh, this motherfucker's got some balls. I like this dude.
Oh, really?
I like this dude."
I guess I've never tried that.
So I guess with locals here, even though if they're pretty and they're affluent, it's you're fanning the same flame. In other words, is what you're saying. So how would someone like me approach someone that? I mean, it's a moment sometimes, right?
I am the wrong person to ask. I am horrible.
Because when in Manila, I'm trying to learn from the maestro here.
Yes, when in Manila, we don't write about dating. At least I don't. But but here, well, at least for me, I've actually never met a long-term girlfriend at a club or a bar. And in fact, here's the thing. Or
anywhere, right?
Yeah,
or
so
anywhere.
Here's the thing. I'm not a club or bar person.
Sure.
And not on purpose, but I've met a lot of the girls I've dated from, I like going to events. Events meaning events or classes. So let's say there's
so I'm going to be 41 going back to school?
Not necessarily school, but maybe like there's a weekend painting class, poker class, a DJing class, something. So I loved learning, especially when I started going back to school. So I always started taking these classes, and I that's where I'd meet people with the same passion as me.
If you don't mind me asking, how'd you meet your girl?
Currently, actually, she was a stalker. Not stalker, no, I'm kidding. But she
300 views a day.
She actually was. It's a cute story. She likes telling it. But she used to listen to me on radio when I was on radio here. So I was on a Mellow 94.7 for 3 years. She used to listen to me.
And Magic too, right?
Yes, I did Magic recently. We were trying to find me a show. Haven't found a time slot for me. So we're still we're in talks, but
good luck with that.
Thank you. But I'm kind of So we're in talks with Magic. But yeah, so she knew me from radio, and she was sort of a fan. So when
Introduced herself.
Yes.
See the irony?
Sorry.
She introduced herself to
sorry,
you.
Sorry. No, she did. We knew each other from social media because we have social media. Okay, sort of. Well, she greeted me for my birthday and like, oh hey, how you doing?
Click on the profile. Okay, all right.
So sort of something like that. But she knew me from radio. We were already connected online because we have our public profiles.
That's how my good friend and producer right now met his wife.
There you go.
While he was in radio.
There you go.
She approached him. That was pre-social media.
So yeah, there you go.
It's amazing. Shit, I need to get into radio and not be seen and then have people just fucking hit me up.
Maybe your podcast will do it. Maybe.
Is long form like not a thing here in the Philippines? Like long form conversation like this? Like would this be marketable? Like let's say this conversation we're having right now.
What do you mean? You mean
Would
like
this
when
be-
you're dating or selling this podcast? What are you talking about?
No, I'm like, is it palatable on radio, on FM radio?
Oh,
like
on FM radio. Depends on the station because like that's what Magic does. Magic's on weekdays they're talk and it's fun talk. It's great talk. So yes and no. But of course there's people who just want to listen to music. But I think it is because to me the people who just want to listen to music, you can just download music to your
Pure
podcast.
plays.
Yeah, right. So I thought, and that's the way I was going when I was on radio. Was like I thought talk was more important because
Absolutely.
that's what I can't get on a well, although you can listen to whoever you want, but if you can find a unique talk point, I thought that was more unique than playing music. But it turns out not so much. At least for the station, at least for Mellow, they really wanted to stick to music.
It was a music centric.
Yeah, it was more
station.
music. So yeah, but Magic's doing really well, and they're a lot of talk, especially on weekdays.
Weekdays, not
Yes.
weekends. Weekends is probably just
They
more like,
try to do more music on weekends. At least that's the conversation I had with them.
So we were talking a little bit. I can edit this out
Oh yeah,
if you want. But we're talking about like, with podcasting, it's like saying it's only Howard Stern who could podcast in the U.S. in the '90s, right, or in the early 2000s. But you and Alan, who's filming and producing the show, said like, it's Mo Twister or nothing.
Yeah, here.
Why is that cultural where they only want to stick to like, oh, I only like Del Monte ketchup, therefore any other ketchup brands cannot make it. Is that kind of like the case?
I'm not sure on that, but I would think that no, I don't think that's a cultural thing. I think it's more on, not a cultural thing in that way. It might be a cultural thing to where they're not used to podcasts here yet, and Mo just happened to be the first one. And his shows are really entertaining. They're really good. But he also just happened to be the first one. But maybe the market's too small to where he got everyone already who wanted to listen to podcasts, that maybe there isn't a big enough market to share that for a second or third top show here.
But don't you think competition is great?
Competition is great. It's just that, like I said, we tried that before, and unfortunately for us, it didn't do too well. And the other people
blows my mind.
The other people I know who do podcasts also, they're not doing that well. So, and
It's ancillary. It's like, oh, this is an additional thing.
yeah, if that. And yeah, the only podcast I do. Again, I'm no expert. I haven't listened to every single podcast out there, but the only podcast I do know that I did hear that is doing well is Mo Twister's podcast. As far as I know, again, I'm no expert.
Right.
So
you see the numerics obviously
Yeah.
by plays and probably his sponsors and everything.
yeah. So yeah, it might just be where the culture isn't ready for podcasts yet. At the same time, the internet's really slow here, so I don't know if downloading might be an issue.
Or live streaming,
Yeah.
especially if it's high Mbps rates.
Yes, exactly. And then maybe also access to where maybe there's a majority, the masses don't quite have internet access. They can only do the free stuff, meaning there's the free Facebook stuff. There's I know on some carriers Facebook is free. On some internet, some telephone service companies, Facebook is free, or maybe they go to internet cafes. But
Sure.
when they're in an internet cafe, maybe it's not top of mind to download the podcast. Or maybe they don't even have a device to listen to it, although they have phones. But so I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. I haven't been able to get to the whys of why podcasts aren't doing well. But we've been trying.
Sure.
We've tried to put up a podcast a couple of times, and unfortunately, it didn't do too well. And
Wow.
we did
that,
with
that blows my mind, especially with the type of people that you guys had on the roster.
yes, yeah.
You got pretty girls with nice tits. You had established boys
Yeah.
and men with the Boys Night Out show.
Yeah, so
you
yeah,
when in
it's
Manila guy.
Yeah, actually, we partnered with the Boys Night Out. We had Wusa Studios. The boys, they had their own show. We had when Manila had a show, they had a sports show with some top sports coaches, well-known coaches here. They had a show with pretty girls. They had a show with, we tried to cover what we thought were doing well. And unfortunately, after a few months, didn't do it.
When in Manila, don't podcast. That's what I fucking learned right now. God damn it. Well, here's the thing. I think it's parallel to like with debit cards, right?
Okay.
Filipinos are not big. The masa is not big with the utilization of debit cards, even though technically it's safer to an extent, right? Instead of carrying so much cash when you go out. But it still hasn't been fully embraced.
But here's the thing. It's because of the access. Because if I go, let's say the masses, I go to a sari-sari store, a carinderia, or for those who don't understand, a small store. It's a small family store that they sell little chips in their garage.
Sure.
I mean, I'm going to buy a 5 peso something, which is like... It's not even a penny.
But you don't think it's going to hit regression to the mean, where it's going to hit like a middle point? Like for people who live in the Fort, people who live in Ayala Alabang, people who live in Green Hills, like I don't see people utilizing a debit card. It's either cash or credit, but not debit.
But it's also access here. There's not a lot of debit cards here.
But that's what I'm saying. You create the need, right? Let's say you create like a chip centric thing where all the sales centric and commerce centric people. But I guess it is Filipinos. It is a distinct culture, huh?
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like that was a bit tech. I feel like that's. I don't think that's the best analogy, because I feel like because I do feel like not necessarily debit cards, but people do use credit cards here. But yeah, just because there's no debit cards, I don't know how to build the need for debit cards. That's what I'm saying. But I do get your point that yes, there is a cultural thing to where, but to each culture has its own perks and quirks.
What I'm trying to showcase is how different, like, really when in Rome is, where something like a debit card would be thought of ingenious, but culturally it doesn't match ours.
Yeah.
A podcast is heavily consumed in other countries, but not in ours.
Yeah, so for that one, I'm really not sure. I don't know what the barriers are.
So is that kind of like themically when in Manila is really? It's kind of like a cultural guide. Aside from just a directorial thing.
Yes and no. Yes, we are a culture. I'd like to think that we talk about what's trending in Manila. We are what's trending in Manila and the Philippines. It started out really as just me writing about my travels and adventures, again, sharing with my friends in the States.
Sure.
But we grew from there to
Look at my better life than yours. Because I'm in Manila now.
Maybe, I guess. So it started out as that. Yeah, look at my better life than yours. But eventually it turned out to where we just started talking about certain things and like, hey, we got a lot of views for this. We got a lot of hits for this article. Let's do more of that. So we sort of just adapted. So now we're sort of a trending guide where we talk about what's trending.
Sure.
Similar to where the New York Times doesn't just talk about what's happening in New York. The Manila Bulletin newspaper doesn't just talk about Manila. So we sort of talk about Manila, the Philippines, and beyond, where we talk about what's trending, what people are concerned about, what people are affected, what affects people here in Manila and the Philippines. So that's how I see us today.
I'm going to get ready to close because I've taken a lot of your time.
Oh, no, I'm having fun. It doesn't even feel like we've taken time. But yes, go ahead.
Right.
I feel like we didn't even talk. I feel like we just BS'd.
No, but that's the whole theme of the radio shows in the U.S. You just make it a conversation.
Well,
right?
What is the theme of? Is it just for? What is the theme of the show? Is it for Filipinos in the U.S.?
Well, for right now, it's a radio show where cross generations meet.
Cross-generation Filipino?
No. Just people in the U.S. for right now.
Okay.
But that's my endeavor, is to show not only there's Gen X versus millennials trying to understand each other, but now my endeavor is, since we're on the Island Block Network, which features Islandesians, Polynesians, and I'm going to insert the Pacific Island culture into it.
Okay.
Now I have to highlight like Filipino personalities.
I got it. Okay.
And just have a point. I mean, I'm not going to interview a degenerate bum that's really happy. Okay, bye. Just fucking keep knocking on people's windows and collect 5 pesos per car. It has to have some summation of like, don't be lazy. Go get it. This is how this person got it. This is his niche or her niche.
Okay.
This is how you date and don't be rapey in Fort Bonifacio. You know, that's the whole format of it. Because the problem is sometimes people do a radio show or they convey messages on the nose. Mm-hmm. And to me, on the nose is so like undermining the intelligence of your audience. Our audience are like the same people that watch Vice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not Vice Ganda for the people in the Philippines, but I'm talking Vice Media. It's a little bit, you don't have to be rich, but you're well read. You experience the world, you see things, you digest things differently.
Okay.
And sometimes I will intentionally contradict or give an example which I don't believe, but it's important to have someone of your brand and stature and accomplishment to give his 2 cents.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? That's where it's at.
Okay.
So now I did my Vince Golanco impression answering a fucking question. Let me ask my goddamn last other question.
Okay.
So you're venturing into the food entrepreneurial world.
Oh, okay. Yes.
When is it the internet responsible also for your food craze, or was this something that's been steadily beating? That's just been in the back burner, but now I can put this in the forefront.
Sort of why am I going into the food entrepreneurial thing?
Or what brought you? Not why, what brought you?
Actually, what brought me really it's really the website that brought me. It's more on...
Sure.
I guess it's a tip as well for entrepreneurs out there. Find strategic partners. Strategic partners meaning technically money's easy to a certain extent. If you have a great concept or whatnot, you can find investors left and right who has money. People have money. But other than just people with money, you want to bring in people who bring value to the business. I, in a way, am lucky because a lot of my other businesses are just people bringing me in because supposedly I add value. So other than investing, the businesses I join usually still have me as an investor. So I still invest. But other than that, I bring in an extra aspect, which is the website. So now they sort of get free promotion on the website because I'm a partner. I won't charge them. And I've seen some of my other businesses are doing really well because they very strategically pick the partners to where some of the partners, even just small partners where they have like a small percentage, a percentage of a percentage are celebrities or these influential people. But now they're, a simple tweet, a simple Instagram post, oh my God, the food here is so good, to their 2 million followers, bang, all of a sudden all these people are coming. And these people, they paid to be part of this business, but they bring value to it. So I guess I'm really lucky in a way where these businesses are actually, I've always wanted to have a restaurant. It was a dream of mine to have a restaurant, to be part of businesses. But I'm not that, as far as I don't cook. I don't know.
Amen, brother. Amen.
I can cook rice though. I'm Filipino.
I can boil water.
I don't cook. I cannot do the logistics to save my life. I don't know how the supply chain is going to work out. I don't know how to manage the people at the restaurant, the servers and stuff. So fortunately, there are people who are good at that. And then they've brought in the partners like me who does well something else. So I bring in the digital marketing aspect to the businesses. So in a way, that's how I got into these.
But are you a foodie as a consumer?
Of course, yeah. Who isn't? Who isn't a foodie?
Okay. Yeah. Last question. I lied. Last question. Southeast Asians are the biggest foodies in the world. Yes or no? Don't give me a Hillary answer. I want a straight cut.
If you had to pick yes or no, yes. Filipinos in particular eat 5 times a day. They have breakfast, they have brunch, they have lunch, they have merienda, they have dinner, then they have a midnight snack.
Look at Singaporeans. Amazing network of food. You have the Chinese, the Malay.
Yes.
I mean,
they love eating. And that's a Filipino word, merienda. It's they don't have this. It's a snack. It's a snack. Exactly. So it's very normal for Filipinos to have a 3-4 p.m. snack, and then dinner at 6-7, and then So restaurants. A lot of restaurants do well here. Yes, Filipinos are foodies. They love food. I don't know why. Which is why it's actually also surprising that Filipino cuisine isn't that big yet globally.
Well, that's why I said Southeast Asian at first. Because, you look at Vietnamese food, Thai food.
Thai food,
it's
Japanese.
fucking amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
The Japanese the array from ramen to sushi to tempura and whatever donburi bowls that they make. But with Filipinos, I feel like we're both welcoming of other tastes and palate. But that's a big puzzle as to why Filipino food hasn't been exposed yet.
But slowly, hopefully. But
in LA, a lot of the Angelino Filipinos out there, they're really pushing really hard.
They are. Same with New York.
Yes.
There's quite a few, there's Filipino restaurants already. They're doing really well.
How do we plug this both internationally in the U.S.? Because my demographic is both L.A. and New York, but also if they want to travel to Manila. Anything you want to promote? What's the website again?
Wheninmanila.com. We're the biggest blog here in the Philippines, biggest lifestyle site blog. We get 10 million impressions per day, including social media. The Philippines, I think, the pro and con. I'll give you the pro and con. The reason people like traveling to Thailand, Vietnam, and to each their own. Each country has their own amazing things. So the more cultured you are, the more you travel, the better for you. The reason more people, or a lot of people, like going to Vietnam, Thailand, those places, is because you can country hop. Because it's kind of pricey to go from the U.S., from Europe, from Australia to Asia. A ticket's $1,000 one way, give or take. So if you're going to come to Asia anyway, might as well go there where you can hit 5 countries.
Sure.
Just backpacking, walking, taking buses. Whereas the Philippines, we're on our own here. But the beauty of the Philippines is a different type of culture. The culture here, one, if you speak English, you will be able to get around the Philippines so easily because most everyone here speaks English. So that is one of the best things here, because traveling at times can be tiring where you don't understand each other, and a simple thing like asking for the bathroom becomes a giant task. It gets tiring, especially if you do it a lot. So the Philippines, everyone speaks English here and everyone is friendly here. For some reason, everyone here smiles and they love foreigners. Not just because of your money. That is one thing they do love about you.
Oh yeah,
but,
we all do.
but also because I don't know. I guess Filipinos are just generally friendly. I compare Filipinos to Italians, to where when you come into a Filipino's house, the first thing they will ask you is, "Have you eaten? Kumain ka na ba? Have you eaten?" So and they will feed you till you cannot move. Even after you eat, they will tell you to eat some more. Even if you tell them, I just ate. In fact, I have leftovers here from McDonald's. They will tell you to eat some more. So they love feeding and they love smiling. So I guess that's really nice. And then consistently, we keep getting voted in the top islands in the world. The top island resorts, including some of it, which are including Palawan, Boracay, and quite a few others. Some not even major tourist destinations yet, like secret beaches, because we have 7,107 islands. So there's a bunch of secret beaches that only locals know about, where if you go to that province, they can tell you, oh yeah, there's this white sand beach around the corner. In fact, I went to one in Camarines Norte. The island is called Isla ng Mahabang Buhangin, but translated to English, it's called the Island of the Long White Sand. And it was just, oh my God, the sand felt like snow. It was that soft and that white. The water was so clear, I could see a mile away. And it wasn't too salty. Like I could open my eyes and see a mile away. It was that beautiful. So there's islands like that, other than the already promoted tourist destinations like Boracay and Palawan, which again are regularly voted into top 10 or a lot of times top 1 island in the world. Boracay is the best party island out there. So if you want to go party, if you're in your 20s, go to Boracay. If you're looking for a more relaxing place, go to Palawan. It's very, very nice.
Lovers Rock.
Yes.
Very Lovers Rock.
Yes, very much.
All right, quick fire questions, okay?
Oh God, okay.
We'll see if this is possible for When in Manila. When in Manila at Air Force One, is that a possible website? No?
I would say yes, but the sponsors would say no. But we would find a way.
When you get a girl pregnant in Manila, you get the abortion here at .com. Would that work?
I think yes. Not for yes, to a certain extent. I strongly support women's rights. So if they feel like there's not enough women's that's illegal here, I think.
You got the context. Thank you.
So yes. So yeah, so I think that's illegal here, but I would support finding ways if a woman's rights, it's their thing.
This is more serious now.
Yes.
Would the when in Cebu work?
Yes. But yes, it would.
But it wouldn't be. It would be like Golanco's nephew who.
Well, yes, sort of. Because in fact, people who get the when in something in the Philippines, a city, they would always ask, "Are you part of when Manila?" So they might think you're part of us, which is fine. We can't buy every single domain out there
Sure.
when in whatever. So yes, it would work, and we'd love to partner with you if you do something like that. But it's hard for us to. We can't buy them all out and
Sure.
and build each one.
Vince,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank you. That was
It's been great.
That was short fire questions. But yes.
No, I was just I just wanted to pick your brain and see if you get some context for parallel thinking.
Okay.
No, but man, sorry if I'm a little nuts the way I interview.
No, that was
very
fun.
organic and
Yes.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.